open while I'm on the screen. Not taken anything from there. It is all purely experience based. So I have tried to adapt all these concepts to the role of a teacher. So personal mastery. When we talk of personal mastery, this describes the discipline of personal growth and learning. Teachers who possess this never-ending quest for self-improvement and self-discovery underline the spirit of learning. See, amongst teachers also, my experience says that we have got all categories of teachers. Definitely, every institution has got a handful, I'm saying a handful of teachers who are really keen for self-discovery and who really have this hunger for knowledge and thirst for knowledge. Apart from that, it so happens that many times we set milestones for ourselves. We feel that maybe I have completed my PhD now. Now I am already a doctorate, and that is the end of it. Little do we realize that as far as research is concerned, no research can be carried out till the time we are doctorate. So what I'm saying that is just the beginning from where you have to you have to you have to in fact restart your journey. So every institution thrives on teachers who are forever hungry for knowledge, who are always trying to look for new avenues of learning, and who are always sort of empowering themselves with knowledge. They are always on their toes. See, God has given us so much since I'm a woman myself, I can very well understand that we go through different phases. We get married, we have kids, then the kids grow up, then the kids grow up to a level when they get married. So we know that we have to do a lot of multitasking. And our role at home is equally important. In fact, yesterday, one of the teachers in the group, she said that, ma'am, I'm very busy since I've got an 8-year-old child and I have to attend to the child also. All done, agreed. I'm not saying that I have not gone through that. We all will have to go through it. And when we have chosen teaching as as a choice, as an obvious choice, then we will have to be committed to the profession. This is not without personal mastery. I mean, so to say, in olden times, the teacher was known as a master. If you would remember, your parents, if you ask your parents, they would say that we were taught by a master. So what did it mean? It meant, that person had mastered that particular stream that he was teaching, or he had mastered to be a role model. You know that the students look up to the teachers and they are the role models. And if the role models are not effective enough, so you can imagine we will be doing a great damage to the nation, to the future of the country. So it is a point to ponder. Now, for this personal mastery, though it is said, that tension, stress, it is, it has engulfed our lives, and there should be no tension, there should be no stress, and especially the teachers who have to do multitasking, they have a lot of tension. I always feel any teacher who does not have creative tension should quit this profession. This particular profession is about taking tension. It is about taking the creative tension. I'm not saying that, and this creative tension is that, the positive part of stress that we talk about. If we don't have that positive stress all the time, we will never be able to make our lectures innovative and interesting. And then we will be focusing on rote learning, and we will be teaching the same subject every year, and we shall be serving stale food to the students. Very soon, the students will have indigestion and they will stop attending our classes. They will find us very boring. They will label us a big bore. And as Professor Salaria on that day, he asked me a question and I did not know the answer at that time. He said, what is the biggest crime that a teacher can do? At that time, I could not answer, but he provided the answer that he can be, if the teacher is boring, there cannot be a bigger crime. And in order to stop that, if a teacher does not have a creative tension and he does not try to build, does not try to have that positive stress that tomorrow I have to go to the class, I need to be prepared. Tomorrow I have to discuss a case. I have to study the case beforehand. Tomorrow I have to ask my students to have a role play or have a case discussion. So I need a lot of preparation before that. So any teacher who does not have tension before the session is no teacher, if you ask me. A very beautiful quote which says, we all live under the same sky, but we don't all have the same horizon. Very, very correct. Though we all say that I'm a teacher, and the I think the country as such would be having nth number of teachers. Yes, very rightly. We all belong to the same fraternity, but that is also true that all of us are not of the same level as far as the learning orientation is concerned. Many of us have probably closed the doors to learning. Please don't mind, I'm saying little hard hitting things, but my objective is only to hammer them into your head so that something comes out. Now, how can this personal mastery be achieved? Very, very basic things. Not that I have put something very, very new and something very classified. No, it is something very, very basic, which I think you all know. Participating in various faculty development programs is very important, because when you sit together and you thrash various issues with your people from the same background or from multidisciplinary background, lot of learning emerges from that. Then looking at every project which is assigned to the students as an opportunity to learn and guide. We have got a very good system in our institute that whichever project we assign to our MBA students, we see to it that the teacher also learns a lot from that particular project. And in fact, it could not get materialized. We had even decided this time that we will also try and identify that along with the student who is the best teacher, who has made the best contribution in the project of the student. That remains to be done. We'll be doing it very shortly. But then the project takes you back to the classroom. It takes you back to the basics. And that is the time, when you can really stretch. You can have a relook at what you had learned earlier from a different perspective. And now you can look at it from the student's perspective. A lot of learning will take place in that. Giving creative and innovative assignments which are more application oriented. As simple as when I used to teach organization behavior, I would never, for every topic, because the topics were so interesting. I'm sure my colleagues who have taught this subject, they would vouch for it. If it was learning, then I would ask them to write the play school learnings that they remember, and then from that I would do some theoretical anchoring. And then if we talked about group dynamics, I would see to it that we play some group activity, we indulge in some group activity, and then we learn something out of it. If it was the chapter on personality, I would always tell them that you please write one page on your favorite personality and why is that particular person your favorite personality. So this way, we are able to trigger the thought process in the mind of the student also. We are really able to open the mind of the student. Theory for theory, of course, books are always there. I'm not undermining the value of books, because I have myself authored quite a few. And then, of course, Google Baba is available with all the answers. But then when you give certain assignments which are application oriented, you are helping the student also to open his or her mind. Then introducing application oriented activities in the classroom. I have already told you about some. Then reading books and making presentations in the class or to students or to the colleagues. In fact, I would just like to share one very innovative thing that we used to do in our institute. In fact, at the beginning of the session, apart from the regular routine syllabus that we had, I would always make the groups of students and I would always ask them that you select a management book or an autobiography or any related book which you would all study. And then this group of 6 people, they would decide on a book and they would collectively read the book, and then they would be asked to make presentations about that book to the rest of the class. And then I also told them that please maintain a small diary, and in this diary please keep on writing the learnings from that particular book. So it so happened when the presentation was made in front of the entire class. So instead of reading just one book at the end of the session, the students landing up reading at least 6 books in every semester. So it turned out to be a very, very enriching exercise. And in fact, many a times there were books which I had also not read myself. So when the presentation was made, the students were told that every student would be given each group would be allotted same kind of grade. So, that put a lot of pressure on the students that they collectively worked and ensured that every team member performs at the same level of excellence if the grade had to be same. So it so happened that there was a lot of teamwork which was introduced in the class, and I was able to inculcate the habit of learning amongst the students. And at the end of the session, many a times, those books were suggested by me. So whenever the companies came for placements, and the question was asked as to what are your hobbies. So instead of saying that sleeping and singing and listening to music, the students started saying that reading is our hobby, and they could in one go talk about 6 books, so which really added to the quality of the students, and it really was very, very enriching for personally for me also. Then trying to draw management lessons from movies, from autobiographies, or day-to-day events organized. In fact, of course, this has become very old now, but I remember in Ludhiana, I was the first one to start this concept, especially when this movie Chak De came. And I think I carried out this activity of, drawing management lessons from the movie Chak De, and I made presentations to various corporate houses and to various educational institutions. And of course, thereafter, there were so many movies from which, because that way the student sees it, sees the clippings and enjoys that particular session and is able to draw many lessons out of it. And then over a period of time, I mean, there were so many movies which came up, and we made it a point, that we present lectures. We base our lectures on those movies. Mary Com was such movie. Bhag Milkha Bhag was another one, and there were even this, Kung Fu Panda. That was another one. So basically, if you have innovation and creativity in your lectures, only then you will be able to engage the students. Your student today is a very, very bright student. He is an aware student. He is tech savvy. So if you're offering rote learning, and if it is repetitive, and if it is there is nothing new in it, so it is very, very difficult to keep him tied to the classroom. And then, don't be astonished if while you're teaching, either they start yawning or they keep looking at their wristwatch. So, and in fact, at times, they'll just put their head down saying that I've got a headache, and they will switch on their mobiles. So, and in fact, many times that whichever activity we have had, for example, the sports function, the annual function, I would always go back to class and I would tell in the management class that, okay, how was it planned? The entire function, how was it planned? So what planning premises were used, and what was the planning process, and what were the plans? What was the strategic planning? So in this way, if you make your lectures interesting, the students will always, underlined word always, they would always want to attend your class. Now you might think, that ma'am, okay, in the behavioral subject it is very, very easy, but then what about the quantitative subjects where, there is a pressure to complete the syllabus? Yes, I know it can be difficult in that, but then in those sessions, if your first 2 minutes and last 2 minutes have something interesting to offer to the students, so I'm sure, you will be able to engage the students to the class. And then very, very important, maintaining a self-development journal. You must be thinking nothing new, we are all maintaining a diary which is given by us to our institute, and we write all that we have to do every day. But yes, how many of you revisit that diary? How many of you do your SWOT analysis at the end of every 6 months? How many of you refer to the pledges or to the promises that you made to yourself? You will be quite shocked that even while I'm talking to you people, I have my diary by my side, which is a self-development journal. See, this journey must go on, and every day there should be at least a lesson learned. Till the time we don't document it, I think it would absolutely be irrelevant. Then, trying to work on the personal habits of punctuality, regularity, being a good team member. Some of you might get offended and you might feel that we out here are sitting as heads of the institution and see what she's telling us. She's telling us and she's talking from such forum. She's talking about punctuality, regularity. See, yes, I know you know about it, but we still cannot undermine the value of all those things. As a teacher, we can teach the value of punctuality by being punctual ourselves. We can teach them regularity by being regular ourselves. Because let us not forget, we are their role models. They look up to us every day, whether we realize it or we don't, but they are always looking up to us. At the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, are we good role models or are we not doing our jobs with sincerity? Job, forget. I'm not talking about job right now. I'm talking about the role, a role which is much bigger than the job. And then, spending some time in meditation and reflective thinking and showing willingness to change. Why I say so? Because spiritual quotient is something that we are talking about. I'm not saying that the teacher has to all the time talk about spirituality in the classroom. No, it is one way in which we can align our minds, our body and our soul, and it is something which relaxes our nerves. It helps us in being more balanced human beings. And I think it is very, very important for a teacher who is doing so much of multitasking to be very, very balanced. So, just 5 minutes of meditation. I'm not asking you to follow any particular cult or follow any guru. You are your own guru. You are your own guru to the world. You are a guru, let me tell you, because guru is one who dispels darkness, and you are in a profession where you can dispel darkness. So, a small meditation and reflective thinking can go a long way in making you a better human being. And then having a laid down personal vision, mission, and self replenishment plans, goal accomplishment plans at the beginning of every session. Let me tell you why I put this point was because I want to lay emphasis on the fact of writing it down. I'm laying emphasis on it that please write it down. We Indians are very bad at writing. For any goal setting, we will talk for smart goals for 2 hours, but when it comes to implementing it, we will be very, very poor at it. Till the time we don't write, let me tell you, we will never be able to accomplish it. I was reading the book, What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. They said that, in probably in 1979, they surveyed the entire batch of management graduates to find out that how many were doing goal setting. And only 3% of them were doing the written goal setting. About 27% were, they had some clarity about the goals, and the rest were not doing any goal setting. And then, how advanced the studies at Harvard are. Again, after 10 years, all individuals were approached, and people who had done, the 3% people who had done written goal setting, they had done 10% better than the rest of the people. So you can very well imagine, I'm sure very few of us do written goal setting. If we are able to maintain a self-development journal and do some goal setting in writing, then I'm sure it will help us a great deal. Mental models. What are these mental models? Now, these mental models are deeply held beliefs and assumptions that are ingrained in our minds, about most of which we are not consciously aware of, or the effects that they have on our behavior. For example, the mental models. In fact, the teachers are known to have mental models. They are known to have fixed ideas about things. They are known to be always in a judgmental mode. In fact, I'm sure to a teacher in their house, it is often said, "Ab teacher banna band kar," because they're always in a correcting or a critics mode. So the mental models, at times we don't even realize that these feelings, these beliefs, these assumptions, they are so much ingrained even in our minds that we are not even conscious about it. Automatically, when we are talking to someone, automatically we are in a judgmental mode. Automatically we are in a critics mode, because our behavior, our mental models have become so stringent, and they have got ingrained in our subconscious now. So whenever a situation arises, it is like, a small cassettes in the mind, it starts playing, and we all of a sudden start playing the God. We feel that because we are a teacher, we should be respected. Because we are a teacher, the students should, be in awe of us. Because we are a teacher, where we are walking, the students should, sort of get on side, and where we are walking, because we are a teacher, because this, because that, because this, because that. So we are always in that. See, remember, my friends, the modern teacher, the present teacher will have to have a very, very open mind. The respect shall have to be earned. Playing the God will have to be set aside, because post COVID we are going to have different kind of situations, different kind of mindsets. Student who has sat at home for nearly more than 6 to 8 months will come back to schools or colleges with he will be an absolutely new person that you would be meeting. So if you do not change along with him, it is going to be a difficult situation. The learning institutions need to develop a capacity to work with the mental models by encouraging people to learn new skills and develop new orientations. I'm so glad that some of you, all of you, have enrolled into this program wherein you are trying to learn new skills and you are developing new orientation. Every teacher will have to do that. In fact, apart from the academics, every day the teacher has to ask himself or herself, today, what new have I learned? Because this COVID is a great teacher. Apart from teaching us lessons on different fronts, I think even on spiritual level, it has gone on a big way in teaching us hundreds of things. And the most important amongst them is living in present. It is so important, living in present. And our future will only be better, if our present is bright, if our present is a present where our mind is open and receptive to new ideas and new learnings. Please have a look at it, and I want to know as to what did you see. What did you see? Can please put it in the chat box. What did you see? Shilpa, do we have any answers?
Yes, ma'am, we do have.
Okay, what have they seen?
One is saying personalities, other is
Okay.
saying two faces, seven faces, great leaders, dry
Okay.
tree. So
Okay.
different people, different opinion.
Very nice. Very nice. So, what all have they said? Can you please repeat it?
For sure, ma'am. One is saying tree, other is saying faces, Nehru. Tree is in the desert, leaders, faces, Mahapurush,
Very
Nehru,
nice.
faces, great leaders, faces, seven faces, dry trees,
Yes.
personalities, two faces. So similar,
So,
five great leaders.
yes, maybe some of you have already seen this before. There is a likelihood that you have seen it before. And my objective of putting this slide was here. Slide here was what is the maximum number of personalities they've been able to see? Shilpa, can you tell me what is the maximum number of personalities they've been able
Yes,
to see?
please, participants, you can answer here in the chat box.
How many personalities are there? How many personalities are there?
One is saying six, other is saying seven. Seven.
Okay, okay. What else? Anybody else?
Five,
Here,
six,
here is the answer.
nine.
Sorry.
So all those who are writing the answers, you can just confirm from the screen, as in how many faces are there? One, two, three, four,
I
five,
have all the faces there.
9. Right.
People who would have seen all the faces, they would have, stretched their horizon little bit. They would have stretched their sight little bit. And maybe, some of you have already seen this. At a glance, many a times you don't get to know. But then if you really stretch little bit, there's a face here, 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 there is one here, there is one here. and so on and so forth. Teaching is a work of heart. It truly is. Apart from the theoretical knowledge that we take to the classroom, it is a work of heart, and this we all have to agree. Just a minute, please. Out here, I'm tempted when I say that teaching is a work of heart. I'm tempted to share a small story with you from my personal experiences. In fact, this story is there in my book also. This story is about two of my students who decided to get married. And when they got married, both of them, they individually came to invite me for the wedding. And they said, ma'am, it cannot be solemnized without you because you have been such a favorite teacher that we had. And I went for the wedding. And in fact, while I was there, I had gone from the girls' side because I thought, that being a lady, let me go from the girls' side. And the barat got delayed by quite some time. It was 11 o'clock in the night, and I had left my small kids at home, and I started getting a little impatient. So I thought, let me go back. I have blessed the girl. I will leave my blessings for the groom. And it was time for me to leave that particular place. And in fact, the moment I was about to step out of the marriage palace, the barat came. And when the barat came, of course, the groom was there with proper sehra and all. So I took his name. I thought, now that I'm there, might as well as bless him and wish him. So I told the groom, I took his name. I said, whatever his name was, I said, okay, let's call him Rahul because I've changed the name. So I said, Rahul. The moment I said Rahul, he said, he was in bride's attire. He said, yes, ma'am. So when he said yes, ma'am, everyone amongst the guests started looking that as to who the ma'am was. So I got pretty jittery and I was a little nervous. So I said, Rahul, the barat has got very late and I have to, it has got very late. The moment I said it has got very late, he said, sorry, ma'am, it will not be repeated again. So that is the beauty of being a teacher. That is the beauty of being a teacher. He just literally jumped in his shoes, and this particular beautiful experience has stayed with me throughout my life. And I have put this experience in my book also. That so profound is the role of a teacher. At that time, my student forgot that he was a bridegroom, a very important thing was taking place in his life, but all he remembered was that his teacher was there and he had to pay respect to the teacher. So, a teacher needs to ask herself the following questions. What have I done recently that improves or expands my students' learning? How can I do more? Very simple, yet very, very difficult. You can look at the cartoon below where, she is trying to pour water every day till the time there is a beautiful flower. So you as teachers, please kindly in this self development journal that you maintain, you must ask yourself every day, or if not every day, at least at the end of every week, that what have I done recently that improves or expands the students' learning. Expansion is very, very important because when the student is happy, he will expand. When he is sad, he will contract. So we have to ensure that the students with whom we are interacting every day, they become people with expanded minds. And on the contrary, what have I done recently that hinders my student success? Of course, this particular thing is going to go off in the times to come because we know it that we are no longer going to be in that role. And this is more in the schools, probably, which is again not prevalent anymore because the role of a teacher is more of a guide, it is more of a facilitator. And in fact, I call him more of a partner. You have to partner the growth of the child. And look at here, where, the before this session, today's lesson, the teacher is still not clear and he has a big question mark that what will I teach today? Means no preparedness, not bothered, just indulging in rote learning. The teacher should try to enhance the self-esteem of the student by reinforcing positive behaviors and should have empathic listening. Very, very important. It is so important. The student who comes to you really looks up to you. Even for the 2 to 3 years that the student spends in the colleges, I think they really, though they are mature enough, they are grown up enough, but still, they haven't had all kind of experiences in life. And all they want is, they want us to be good listeners. Once we listen to them, I think half of their problem is taken care of, because they feel that there is someone who listens. The problem with the present generation is they always feel that no one listens. This is the grief that they have in the heart, because when they go home, the parents say this is what your teachers have taught. When they come to college or to school, the teachers say this is what your parents have taught you. So they are always in a dilemma, where to go, who will listen to them. So when we do empathic listening, Stephen Covey has very, very beautifully written in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says that we need to listen with the third ear, and have that third ear here. And that third ear is nothing but the heart. You have to listen with your heart, because hearing is for what? You cannot stop hearing, because see, hearing would be what? It would be just for meaning. But when listening is done, meaning and feeling both have to be there. You need to listen with a compassionate heart. Please look at it here. If you have to empathize with someone, you have to, because the wearer knows where the shoe pinches.